Hello and welcome to Zindagi 360. मैं हूं आपका होस्ट रज़ा नकवी and you are at my apartment today क्योंकि मेरे साथ मेरे कुछ दोस्त आए हुए हैं. अक्सर मेरे apartment में I have little get-togethers and we all hang out. अक्सर मेरे दोस्त अमेरिकन होते हैं, गोरे अमेरिकन होते हैं. अक्सर मेरे दोस्त होते हैं जो पाकिस्तान में रहने वाले लोग होते हैं. लेकिन कुछ मेरे ऐसे दोस्त भी होते हैं जो यहाँ पले बड़े हैं लेकिन वो अमेरिकन नहीं है, वो पाकिस्तानी नहीं है, वो कुछ इन बिटवीन हैं, वो कुछ ऐसे बैकग्राउंड से ताल्लुक़ रखते हैं जो पाकिस्तानी अमेरिकन कहलाए जाते हैं. What does that really mean? We are going to go across the room and we're going to get introductions from everyone. Let's begin with Sophia. Sophia, tell us about yourself. Tell us a little about where you grew up and do you consider yourself a Pakistani American?
Well, my name is Sophia Ahmed and I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I lived my whole life there, and growing up, I used to go to Pakistan regularly during the summers and the winters. My father is from Faisalabad. I do consider myself a Pakistani American, but I feel that I identify more with my religious identity than I do with my ethnic identity. So I feel more like a Muslim American than just a Pakistani American.
That's interesting, and we'll get back to this issue of Muslim American versus Pakistani American. Introduce yourself, let us know where you grew up, and again, do you feel that you are a Pakistani American? Conversely, do you feel like you're an ABCD?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Saman Kadir, and I've been raised in North Potomac, Maryland, so I'm a local here. And I don't think I'm an ABCD necessarily, so I'll take out the C.
Okay.
I'm just, I'm the Desi person in America, but I would say that I am a Pakistani American. And I, just like similar to Sophia, I've been in Pakistan and then back in the United States throughout my entire life, where you spend the summers there. And I'm originally from Lahore, and
right.
So.
Fahad, where did you grow up, and do you consider yourself an ABCD?
So I'm Fahad Patel. I grew up in Northern Virginia, and I certainly don't consider myself to be confused, so I wouldn't use ABCD. I've gone to Pakistan fairly regularly in my childhood and growing up, going to Karachi for the most part. And, but yes, I consider myself to be Pakistani American, and I think that there's no contradiction in those two terms.
Do you feel like there's any contradiction between a Pakistani and an American and a Pakistani American? And, did you grow up here, and does that inform that?
Yeah, my name is Farouk Malik, and I also grew up in the same area as Fahad. But I actually think that you can be Pakistani and you can be American. I don't think that there even is a need to hyphenate, because, you just depends on where you're from, right, or where you grew up and what you identify with. And, I look at myself in the mirror and I feel Pakistani. And I go out and I deal with people and then I feel American. So it's completely different depending on what environment you're in. But I don't think it really is contradictory at all.
My name is Haris Bajwa, and kind of going along with the boys, I think I'm a Pakistani American too, and I'm proud of being Pakistani, proud of being American. I think we're both land of the free in different ways. In Pakistan, you can do whatever you want to. In America, it really gives you the right to do whatever you want to. I was born in Sargodha, but raised in Durham, North Carolina. I go often because my heart's still stuck in Pakistan, but I love the US, so I really think I'm pure Pakistani American.
Well, let me ask you guys this. As a point of reference, when you guys go back to Pakistan and you're mingling with your cousins and your friends and your family back home, do you feel that you're part of that community? Do you feel comfortable communicating? Do you feel comfortable just talking to people who are there and trying to assimilate? Do you ever have an issue when you go back to Pakistan?
I never have an issue, and that might have the reason for that might be that I've been going to Pakistan since I was a baby, literally yearly, every summer, every winter, and I've just gotten used to the way things are back there. In fact, my favorite place to go when I go to Pakistan is our village, and over there, we cover our faces and everything, but it just comes naturally, and so it feels right when I'm there, and then when I come back to America, it's just back to being American.
Do you ever have like a language barrier issue, or just simply communicating with people there? Is that an issue?
No, not at all, because I grew up speaking Urdu and Punjabi, and so I speak both languages fluently, which was a major factor in my comfort level, I guess, with family and friends back home.
Saman, do you have any issues when you go back home?
No, not really. I think for me, I was born in Pakistan. Part of my life I was raised in Pakistan too, so it's like similarly, I also went every summer, and you get used to it, but I think it's part of it wasn't like I was going to two different worlds. It's just part of one world, and they're not even different identities. It's just that you just learn to assimilate. And if I'm in Pakistan, I land in Lahore, you just, it's just a different world, but it's like going to any other part of the world. If you know how to interact and you understand the society there, then you're very comfortable wherever you are. And for me, I had a lot of cousins my age, so for me, it's like being a teenager in Pakistan. It's a completely different experience than what kids are visiting over the summers because I had so much companionship.
Right. How does this compare to your guys' experience? You guys have any issues like that?
Mine is a little different just because my Urdu is not very good. So for me, when I go to Pakistan, I do feel a little disconnected and mingling with cousins who are my age and sort of going out. Yeah, I think it's a little different. I don't know to the extent to which people there would actually view me as authentic Pakistani if you don't speak the language.
Yeah, so I mean, how do you think that the people are viewing you in Pakistan, like your cousins? I mean, do they think yaar ye to aaya hai bahar se, or do you think that they just accept you as who you are?
No, well, actually, for me, I think the thing that really draws attention to the fact that I'm not from there like everybody else is that whenever I go, my biggest problem with Pakistan is that like everybody's throwing stuff away. So like you'll eat a cornetto and you'll throw it away on the street. And so the thing that I always do, I mean, and I do it subconsciously almost, is that I try to like pick it up. If my cousin throws something away off on the ground, I'll pick it up and then they'll just look at me like I'm strange. So
it's like wearing your seatbelt.
Yeah, it's like
wearing your seatbelt.
And so that's the kind of thing that like really, I mean, but other than that, in terms of communication or anything like that, I don't think that anybody views me any differently. It's just my mannerisms I feel are different. So like the seatbelt, like Fahad said, or the trash on the street.
Right.
And
but it's
but
those
things
little things,
yeah.
right? It's those little things that sometimes, that in the back of your mind, it just sort of like, even as an afterthought, you're like, whoa, that was a little different. That like, like I remember like, here in the U.S., this is a sort of an opposite, a story that I had. When I first came here, I had a friend who was a Pakistani American. And, we used to talk a lot about stuff of all over the world, politics, this, that, and the other. I remember once Pakistan lost to Australia in a cricket game. And I was like, man, that sucks. We were so close. We almost had it. Yaar, like, do bole neti thi. And the guy just looks at me like, just completely blank face. And he's like, dude, I'm sorry. I mean, cricket, I don't understand cricket. And so I had this really weird sensation of like explaining cricket to a fellow Desi sitting at a cafe somewhere, and like it was just like a very weird like sort of interaction. I mean, is that something that when you go back to Pakistan, you find in those little things?
For me, I think it may be opposite. I stay actually quite plugged in intellectually. It's one of those things, everybody goes through that phase, whether it's like most Desis going through this Rumi phase, I'm going through my Bulleh Shah phase. So I go back and I'm plugged into these Bulleh Shah, going to shrines, wanting to wear shalwar kameez and kusse in like PC or Marriott, and everybody there does not dress like that. For them, it's weird. Why do you want to go to the shrines? Why do you want to do all these kind of things? So if anything, I'm trying to be too cultured, too plugged in, where my cousins there are never into these local things, because that's not normal.
Why do you think that is? I mean, because that's kind of interesting. It's almost like, and this is, a lot of people have told me this, like, when you live away from Pakistan, for instance, you'll often feel like, well, I need to stay more connected with my culture, and you almost feel like you need to make an extra effort to stay connected to that culture. You ever feel that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely true. When you do question everything that you are, you try to figure out what your identity is. And when you do that, you kind of take a more holistic picture. You're not just roped into the current situation. You kind of look back where you came from, what you're doing. And again, everybody has that itch at some point in their life to kind of get in touch with their culture.
Right.
And
speaking of getting in touch with your culture, you mentioned earlier that you consider yourself a Muslim American. More than you consider yourself a Pakistani American. And this is something that I remember I had a discussion with this author who was a Pakistani American. He wrote this book about how he grew up, well, he spent some of his childhood in Pakistan, came over here, and he found that one major difference was that Pakistanis living here often identified with their Islamic roots and their Muslim roots a lot more than other parts of their culture, like maybe they're bulle shah or their biryani or whatever, right? They often found that like he often found that like the Muslim identity became emphasized. Is that something that you can identify with?
Yeah, absolutely. I went to an Islamic school actually from the age of 2 till 12, and it was a full-time day school. And I was surrounded by a lot of different nationalities, but they were all obviously Muslims. And so I became comfortable in an environment where I was dealing with Arabs, Africans, you know, people from everywhere in the Muslim world. And so when I would be with Pakistanis, I would I relate less actually than I do to Muslims in general, and that might have something to do with my schooling, my Islamic schooling. But once I went to college, I ended up double majoring in Arabic and international affairs, and so I got really close to my religion through that, and I found myself kind of distancing a little bit from the more traditional Pakistani things like the music and the parties and the dinner parties, and that whole culture is a little foreign to me. So
we'll get back to that thought in just a minute. We're going to go for a break right now. After the break, we'll get back to this topic of whether or not in the U.S. you become closer to your religion. We'll be right back. Guys, welcome back. Sophia, before the break, we were talking about how you have connected with your religion and you had almost distanced yourself from other parts of Pakistani culture. Explain to us a little bit about why.
You know, it might be because the community that I had around me in Atlanta was a lot more religiously liberal than my family specifically was. And so I wasn't used to this whole, the more religious I got and the more important that my 5 prayers a day became. And I used to be a hijabi. And so I didn't want to put myself in situations where I would be going to concerts, or I would be doing things that I didn't feel were in sync with my religious beliefs. And the community that I had around me, the Pakistani American community in Atlanta, was very religiously, I guess, liberal. And in that sense, I guess that's why I identified more with my religion. And my identifying with my religion is kind of what pulled me away from the Pakistani American community.
That's interesting. You guys have had similar experiences, or can you relate to that in any way?
Mine's actually the polar opposite experience. I actually get flustered, and not in a personal way, when with this Muslim American concept, because your heart could be for Islam, your brain could be for Islam, but religion is not immutable. You can change your religion, but in your blood is Pakistani, and if you're American, it's Pakistani American. But for me, it's the polar opposite. Your identity is your culture. You choose your religion, but if you're in Africa or you're in Pakistan, you practice Islam, but you practice it differently. And you don't, for me, I don't hold my religion as my main identity. It's how I live, it's what I do, but my identity is my culture. That's personal, but that's a battle that everybody has, I think, in every, even local society and friends. But for me, it's the polar opposite.
No, I agree with Haris. I used to also live in London, and one of the things that I saw there really sort of opened my eyes to what, ghettoizing yourself and identifying only with religion can do. Because in insulated societies, what people end up doing is they just hang out with people that they feel comfortable with. So they hang out with people, if you don't drink, you hang out with other people that don't drink. If you're Muslim, obviously it's good to hang out with people that are praying 5 times a day because it helps you pray 5 times a day. But eventually that leads down a path, that you isolate yourself from society.
When something like, Osama bin Laden got caught in Abbottabad, when that happened, and you guys are all work here in the U.S., you all work in environments with Americans around. How did you feel when the next day the headlines are blaring, the world's biggest terrorist caught in Pakistan?
Generally, people were understanding. If this happened probably right after 9/11, there was a big Pakistan boogeyman. Now people have a more nuanced understanding. Of course, not everybody loves Pakistan, but they have a nuanced understanding that Pakistan's not all against the U.S., but they have their own needs and their own concerns. But generally, it was, for me personally, it was kind of uncomfortable. It still is uncomfortable that bin Laden was found in Pakistan. Post 9/11, whenever any terrorist attack happened, anything happened, the first inclination was like, I hope he's not Pakistani. Then, I mean, before I guess it was, I hope he's not Muslim, but then it's not Pakistani. And then when it was some Muslim from Africa, I was slightly happier that it was not a Pakistani, because for a while it was every Pakistani student, it was every Pakistani person.
Right. Sophia, how did you feel that day when, you know?
Well, obviously, I mean, I was happy. I was ecstatic that, you know, this terrorist had been killed, but it was very awkward going and talking to my American friends about it, and they're like, oh, have you been to that city, Abbottabad? And I was like, yeah, I've actually been there.
Abbottabad. And then you find out that it was named after an Englishman, Abbott.
Right, exactly. And so I had been there a few times, and, you know, I got all of the weird questions, but at the end of the day, because I was happy about it, and there were I had no questions within myself whether or not I was happy about it, but it was kind of embarrassing, you know, when people would come to you and be like, oh, it was found in your country, your home country, your government, your family's, you know, living there, and their government was holding him. So it was an interesting time.
Yeah, I mean, Pakistan has like a really bad rep in the U.S. I mean, the word is a lightning rod. It's toxic. I mean, I think in the media, the way Pakistan is portrayed is very negative. So in the workforce, and at the end of the day, the workforce is a complex environment, and you have to manage your relationships with people. So I avoid talking about politics at work, especially foreign policy.
You just don't bring it up.
I don't bring it up, and no one really asks me about it. And if they do, I'll answer objectively, but I won't really get into it.
Right. We'll get back to that point about how you deal with being a Pakistani in an environment where there are a lot of Americans. We're going to take a break right now. When we get back, we'll continue the discussion. Welcome back, guys. Fahad, you were saying that you sometimes don't even talk about, you know, the issue of Pakistan or politics. Again, why is that? Is it fear? Is it embarrassment? Is it like, you know,
I'm certainly not embarrassed to be Pakistani, and if anybody asks for my opinion on a foreign policy question, I'll answer it. But you never know what people are thinking inside their heads, and this means your coworkers and your bosses and things like that. And you know, on the surface, everyone is very friendly, and most people are. 99% of the people are friendly and decent and fair, but there might be 1% of the people you work with who secretly hold some biases, and you don't want to feed that flame at all, given, you know, what Pakistan means right now in the U.S.
Go ahead.
But I think part of like foreign policy, it's not just Pakistan. It's like you have to look at Afghanistan, you have to look at Iraq, you have to even take into consideration countries like Haiti and all of these sorts of things. Being a Pakistani American, yeah, it's important, and it's part of our identities, but that doesn't really preclude us from being, like, we're part of a much bigger community. It's not just America and Pakistan. Like, if in order for us to be taken seriously, if we have an opinion on foreign policy or whatever, you have to be cognizant of what else is going on in the world. And when you deal with things objectively, like as Fahad said, if you're asked a question, you answer objectively, but then you should also be informed about other things and what other people of different backgrounds are facing. And just like, you know, someone mentioned was that, you know, thank God Osama bin Laden wasn't African. I mean, the thing is that every minority in the world, like everyone breathes like, oh, thank God that wasn't like us. It's not a fear that just Pakistanis have. That's something that everyone has. A black man, he's going to say, thank God he wasn't black. Like, that's just the reality of being here and the way the social society is structured.
I want to go back a little bit to your guys' sort of experience growing up in the U.S. Because I think that's really where a lot of the different experiences that you might have had come into play, as opposed to people who grew up in Pakistan. You know, just in high school or even in college, did you ever come across an instant where you were extra cognizant of your identity as a non, I guess, white American, right? You know, did you ever get that sense of other? And was that a good experience, bad experience? Was it weird to think that maybe I'm not part of a community, or I am, but in a different way?
Well, Georgia doesn't have a really big Pakistani community. I mean, in Atlanta there is a community, but where I was living, I was surrounded by white people, basically. So I always felt that I was different. And I went to, after I finished the Islamic school, I went to an all-girls private school where I was the only, there were one of two non-white girls. And so I was very cognizant of my differences from my peers. But it never bothered me. I was secure because I had a family base in Atlanta. My father's family was living there. But I was cognizant of my differences.
Right. Well, you guys, were you aware of it? And well, I guess here's what I ask. When was can you guys remember the first time you were aware of being different?
For me, I think it's slightly different than these people because they grew up in Northern Virginia, which is a culturally diverse place. I grew up in North Carolina, which is like down south. I was the only brown person in my school. It was a school of 1,500 people. It was either you were white or you were black. And that's one of the bubbles you had to fit into. And oddly, I fit into the right bubbles with the right people at the right times. But there was I think it was a kind of a blessing because I was in my own little bubble. I had my Pakistani or Muslim values my parents taught me. But I was operating in this normal world because that's the only world I could operate in, but I could mentally block it out. For me, at least from my parents' perspective, it served as a good shield and bubble where they could raise me in a bubble while exposing me to the world so I could learn how to interact with the world.
Yeah, I think my experience was a bit different. Like I think it was very recently that I felt like maybe I'm different. Yeah, I mean, it might be right now, but
Today here.
Yeah, today here. But my whole experience has been it hasn't been colored by the color of my skin or anything like that. I mean, I actually grew up here and I went to school in Texas. I mean, Texas is not known for being the most open-minded place, but I felt like in Texas it was mostly about if I was Mexican or not. It wasn't really. It wasn't about like, oh, you know, this guy is Muslim. Like what their worldview wasn't that nuanced. And so, like, as soon as they realized, oh, well, this guy can speak English and he drives a car and he works a job, whatever it is, then the prejudice melted away. And then it was like, okay, well, let's keep going because I didn't fit into their prejudice sort of Lego, right? So because of that, I didn't have to worry about it. And then when I came back here, again, like Haris said, it's a fairly cosmopolitan area. There's people from all over the world. And I've never had any problems. I mean, I think the majority of people that may have problems are the ones that try to go out of their way to emphasize the difference. Right. And I mean, so if you go to the workplace and you say, well, I refuse to shake your hand, then you are drawing attention to the fact that you're different. And then you're asking for their comment, right? But if you say, well, I'm normal, I do normal things with you. If you want to go to lunch with me, I'll go to lunch with you. And all of those things, then really there's no opportunity for somebody to say, well, this guy is different in that way because you're the same in every way that is public.
So did you ever have friends that you brought over and you were like, man, it's going to stink? Like the room, like it's going to be smelly.
Yeah, I mean, one time I think when I was in elementary school, my friend said that your house smells like curry, which was true, but that was a good thing. I think as far as like first noticing it, I mean, I actually do remember specifically being in elementary school and the transition between being like everybody else and starting to feel a little different. It was like probably like 3rd or 4th grade, and I had a lot of trouble with other kids. And at the time, Northern Virginia wasn't what it is now. This area is very diverse now. It's a melting pot. At that time, it wasn't, and my school wasn't. So yeah, I mean, I had kids who said things to me, and that's when I noticed it. And I got into a lot of trouble and fights, and it was actually quite problematic early on.
Actually, I just remembered something.
We'll hang on. We'll talk about Fahad's rough childhood pretty soon. But we are unfortunately out of time for this show. We're going to continue this discussion next week. आप लोगों से बात इन लोगों से बात होती रहेगी. Stay tuned for our discussion next week. But for now, for Z360, this is all the time we have for.